National Security Council spokesman John Kirby told reporters that Iran has sent a small number of personnel to Crimea to assist Russian troops in launching Iranian-made drones. We already heard the reports that the Iranian-made drones were being purchased by Russia. Now we know that Iranians are on the ground based off this report from the White House and the National Security Council, assisting the Russians in utilizing what are called those kamikaze drones, which are directed missiles. There's two issues here. One, we knew that they were already purchasing the drones. That's not new. What is new here is that you've actually got Iranian soldiers on the ground in Crimea working alongside the Russians, which goes against a Russian talking point that, they're using Russian weaponry.
Russia has two problems. One, they're running out of armaments. Russia is lacking a lot of the parts that go into their long-range missiles because of sanctions. And so what Russia is having to do, they're turning to North Korea and Iran to rearm, especially when it comes to missiles and these types of drones. So Russia is having an equipment issue with their arms because they have spent so much in Ukraine and they have been defeated on the battlefield and they're running short. But in August, they bought 1,000 of these Iranian drones and put them in Crimea to use them. And then they discovered that they did not know how to service the drones and weren't really good at operating the drones. And so according to our intelligence reports, they brought in actually soldiers from the Revolutionary Guard Corps to Crimea, and they are there by all reports to be the technicians for the drones and to help the Russians as they use them and guide them. It is a simple weapon. It's a lot cheaper than the cruise missiles the Russians were using, which can run up to $1 million apiece. And they're a unique weapon. The blast radius is small. They're deadly still, but they also can fly over a target and hover for up to an hour, and then the operator can choose a pinpoint target to launch the explosive on. So it's a unique weapon, but Iran is definitely involved.
We know that this administration, and also we're close to an election, this kind of, if you get this drumbeat, if we start seeing more of this, it's in ways that connect to Americans in a lot more direct way. We know Iran is our enemy. Yes. We know they've killed Americans on the battlefield. If they're able to sell this message, then I think it's easier to get this is just truth talk here. It'd be easier to get Americans behind doing more in Ukraine, whether that's just spending more money or potentially using actual U.S. troops and airmen.
I would absolutely, like you, hate to see that happen. Yeah, the Biden administration, like they do on so many things, they're doing the two-step here. We're giving Ukraine weapons and training so they can defend themselves, but not giving them all the weapons and the training that they could use to defend themselves. And so we're sort of like, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And certainly because of that and because of the expense of this, especially with all the inflation and the gasoline prices and whatever is going on in America, Americans have cooled off on how much we should support Ukraine. Of course, by and large, all Americans virtually are against sending troops there or even using our aircraft in that airspace. But even what we've done so far because of the economy, there's some waning of support. And you may be right. This may be a way for the UK and the United States to bolster the support from their own citizens about this war in Ukraine.
I do think that longer term, even post-election, they want to be more involved in Ukraine. It's the American people who have been able to really stand up in almost a not bipartisan way, but there's been a lot of talk on just people in general who just say, I don't want to go send our troops to fight this war. Like, it's one thing to help the Ukrainians push back against the Russians, but can we find some way of getting towards a peace agreement? Like, is there any way to see an end to this conflict without nuclear Armageddon that's been discussed?